I know some stories are best left untold and some memories forgotten, but what if those stories caused a sudden change in your life? What if those memories have become a recurring reality, like mine? I still think about my ex-husband. I think about the beautiful life we had, and it breaks me every day. So, here I am, about to tell you the story of how I lost my magical marriage because I could not resist my husband's best friend. My name is Deborah, and I'm a single parent. I work 2 jobs so my children will not be taken from me. Sometimes, I visit the local pub and drink myself almost to the brinks of getting drunk. Other times, I wrap myself into a ball and cry. I don't allow the twins to see me, though. To them, I'm a strong woman, the strongest woman in the world. But I'm far from strong. I'm far from perfect. I did not have to struggle like this before. I did not have to cry myself to sleep or hug my pillow on cold, lonely nights. Sometimes Tommy, my immature drunk of a boyfriend, comes to warm my bed, but that is all it is. I miss being in love. I miss being loved, jealously, like how Jason, my ex-husband, loved me. I miss how he would cuddle me when it rains and the thunder comes. I miss the smell of his cologne. I miss watching him shave the little beard he had. I miss everything about my ex-husband. But I doubt he misses me too, not with how I broke his heart in our marriage. This loneliness is the aftermath of what I did. The aftermath of the intense pleasure I had with Dylan, my husband's best friend. And you know the sad thing. If given the chance, I would do it again. Dylan and I met in college. One of the only good things college gave to me. I was attracted by his composure and his ability to hold a thought even in front of tenured professors. Dylan was the smartest, most handsome guy I had ever seen. A far cry from his best friend, Tommy. Tommy was addicted to bodybuilding. He had the body of a superhero and the looks of a supermodel. He was a lady magnet. I mean, every girl in class was drawn to him. And so was I. I even hoped he would ask me out before Dylan, but I was wrong. Dylan approached me at one of our department's dinners, and I could not stop myself from blushing. Up close, he looked even more perfect, with his beautiful blue eyes and his full red lips. I know women don't talk about their men like this, but my Dylan, my ex-Dylan, was near perfect. Now, you may think I'm confused, but both men, Dylan and Tommy, were perfect. I wanted them both, but for different reasons. Dylan was my shining star in college. I don't think I would have made it out without him. It's sad how I'm telling this story, and the memories we shared in college come rushing down. I remember how we'd stay up all night playing games, watching the stars, or just enjoying each other's silence. Magical, right? Well, yes. But there was my craving for Tommy. One I could not stop. I would catch myself thinking about him, his wet body, his turgid rod visible in his tight gym shorts, his pink lips, well-groomed locks, and his baritone voice that sends shivers down my spine every time. I wanted Tommy badly. Even though I had Dylan's love and support, Tommy noticed the effect he had on me. He would tease me with his sweaty body and watch my eyes pop. I could not control myself, you see. I tried. Tommy would come to my room with Dylan, and I would listen to him pounding my housemate. Her moans would drown the squeaky sound of her bed, and I would imagine it was me Tommy was getting with. I would imagine Dylan was Tommy. I almost even called out Tommy's name in the middle of our rounds one time. It was that bad. I kept up with this infatuation until I finally realized what I wanted. The first day I got with Tommy was a rainy Sunday. He had come alone, straight from the gym, to see my housemate, but she was not home. I think he knew she would not be at home. Looking back, I think it was just a trick to get with me. Tommy decided to wait, and I joined him in our small living room. His smell, a mix of sweat and cologne, filled the house. I could perceive him well enough to want him, but I kept calm. He would not make me feel less than myself. I would not allow it. We watched movies that day and ate popcorn, sitting close together on the only couch in the living room. Dylan even called that day, and I told him that Tommy was around waiting for my housemate. And he said he'd join us soon, that he was trying to finish an assignment. I think that was the excuse he gave. After watching 2 movies, it was getting a little late, and my housemate was not back. Bored with staring at the telly, Tommy suggested we played Truth or Dare. That was when things got intense. We went from asking trivial questions and doing trivial dares to asking intimate questions. Tommy knew what he wanted, and since he could not be direct, this game would do it for him. From intimate questions, we went to intimate dares. He dared me to take off 5 items from my body, to show him my breasts, to give him a lap dance. Before I could restrain myself, I was on my knees singing into his microphone. We did it that day, in the living room, my bedroom, my roommate's room, and the shower. Tommy took me and made me his that day. That was the beginning of our college affair. Tommy and I kept seeing each other for almost a year. I don't even know how we were able to hide it from Dylan and my housemate. Although I felt guilty at the time, especially when Dylan tells me he loves me in that genuine and sincere tone that he uses. It was almost like I was choosing a good thing over some ephemeral satisfaction. But at the time, I'd choose that satisfaction 1,000,000 times over being happy with the man of my dreams. I mean, Tommy made me feel things I never knew I was capable of feeling. Every moment spent with him made me lighter than ever. I loved Dylan, but Tommy was my Achilles heel. Well, until he dropped out of college. Because of his failing grades and his lack of trust for the whole college education system, Tommy dropped out and joined the army. Guess what? He did not tell me directly. I was with him the night before he left, and he did not even have the courtesy to let me know he was leaving. Tommy left with a part of me, a part I never knew I would miss that much. With Tommy out of the picture, I decided to be loyal to Dylan. And yes, I was super loyal to my ex. We had the most beautiful wedding immediately after college. A fairy tale wedding, even. Dylan had asked me the kind of wedding I wanted and tried as much as he could to give me that. Our honeymoon was even more beautiful. I look back now and I'm angrier at myself. How could I have allowed what happened to happen? I mean, I could have controlled myself at least. Or even told Dylan that his friend was a wolf in sheep's clothing. But I did not. Dylan and I had our honeymoon in Paris, the city of love. His parents had made everything possible as our wedding gift. It was the most beautiful time of my life. I can still remember it like it was yesterday. We toured the city, visited their historic museum, and at night, we made love. Sweet, rough, hard, and soft love. Dylan made love to me like a gentleman. I had gotten used to it. The way he moved his waist, his tender moans, the way he holds me when I'm on top. Beautiful. We spent 4 days in Paris, and every day came with its own beauty. Our last night was even more memorable. We drank, made love, listened to Lionel Richie and Marvin Gaye, laughed, and made love some more. I did not think about Tommy. I did not think about having other people aside from my husband. I hoped our marriage would be an unending magic. And it really would have been if only I had learned some restraint. Dylan and I began building our lives and careers together. We even put off childbearing because we wanted to focus on our marriage and our career. We did just that. We would go for dinner dates, weekend getaways, falling in love every second of the day. It was beautiful, you see. A never-ending stream of love and power, and nothing could come between us. Or so I thought. Well, it turned out that Dylan was having an affair with a colleague at work. This is not part of the story, but I want you to know one of the reasons I did not restrain myself when Tommy eventually came back. I found out from reading their texts. At the time, it happened just once, a silly mistake they called it. But it was not a silly mistake. My husband, my knight in shiny armor, the one that I thought was the symbol of loyalty, was cheating or cheated on me with a colleague at work. I was so angry, but I did not tell him. I would not let him know that I knew. I zoned out of the marriage when I found out, but Dylan did not know. How would he know? I never gave Dylan any cause to believe that I knew he was cheating. After all, I did it for over a year with his best friend, so why bother him now? I clowned his WhatsApp and kept up with their text. I don't think they did it again, but there was something there. I could sense what they had was not a one-night thing. That was when I decided to confront Dylan about it. I prepared my speech while waiting for him to return from work. When I heard his car drive into the garage, I stood up, ready to pounce. I was raging inside. Suddenly, all that anger melted when he came inside with someone. Tommy. I was starstruck. He wore his army uniform and looked even more impressive than before. I had not seen him since he left school, did not even hear from him either. Here was my dark partner, staring at me in the face with a smile on his face. I could not say anything to Dylan. I could not say anything to Tommy either. I smiled, said a weak hello, and left the living room. Tommy and I could not talk on his surprise visit, but he got my number from my husband. He texted me that night and apologized for leaving the way he did. We texted back and forth for over 2 hours, if I can remember correctly, before we said goodnight. The back and forth texts continued for a week. And, I must say, that week was the happiest I had been since I discovered Dylan was cheating. I even stopped reading his chats. The last time I read their texts, I did not see anything juicy. Even if there was, I wasn't interested. Tommy was back. That was all that mattered to me at the time. Tommy told me about places he had traveled to, people he had met, and all that. He even said he missed me, like me. Our chats shifted to our past, and the memories came rushing back. I miss how you would hold me, swallow all of me, and make me yours, Tommy said. I remember this, because this was the position I was when... We continued recounting old memories, till Tommy suggested we fix a date and see if the chemistry was still there. I did not agree at first, but after many pleadings, I gave in. This was the beginning of my marriage's end. Tommy and I met up at our favorite spot in town, and after some drinks, we went to the room. I don't think I will ever forget what Tommy did to me that day. Never. Not in this lifetime or the next. Tommy took me like a man that had been starved for months and months. We went 4 rounds, and they were all fire. He gave me another experience, a new, more solid, rough, and sweet experience. Tommy and I began visiting the hotel often. My marriage suffered, but I did not care. Dylan even tried to salvage what was left, taking me to dinner, arranging surprises at the house, even tried taking me for vacation to the Maldives. But I would not leave Tommy. I saw his efforts, heard him too, but I was far gone to be revived. The flames of our love had been completely quenched in my heart. Although I did not let him know, things fell apart entirely when Tommy and I decided to make love in my house, on Dylan's bed. It was a scary adventure, but I knew the time Dylan came home from work. We'd be done before that time. Tommy came over, and after a few glasses of whiskey, we began. From the living room to the stairs, and finally to my room. We made out for a while, before I went on my knees, unzipped Tommy's fly, and swallowed him. I think the pleasure was too much. Because how did we not hear Dylan drive in, come up the stairs and open the door? Our pleasure turned sour immediately we saw Dylan standing at the door, looking at me take his best friend in like that. Dylan left immediately, and so did Tommy. He did not even try saying anything to Dylan. He just left. And that was the last time I saw him. I was broken, but I did not want to leave Dylan. I still loved him. Maybe it was the absence of Tommy that brought me to my senses. Whatever happened, I don't know. All I know is I still loved Dylan, and I did not want to let him go. We had a serious discussion about everything with a therapist, and I opened up to him about my affair with Tommy at college and my knowledge of his affair with his colleague. Dylan owned up to everything and told me he had called it off, which I knew. I think the whole idea of what he saw and what I told him was too much for him to bear. Dylan filed for a divorce later. Losing my not-so-perfect but very workable marriage was not the highlight of my troubles. Worried about the impending divorce, I did not notice that I had missed my period and I was always nauseous. Well, I found out I was pregnant a month after what happened. I did not bother telling Dylan because I knew he was not the father. My kids have not seen their father, and every man I date leaves me when they find out I have children. I have been in and out of relationships hoping someday Tommy will come back even if it's for a night. If you want to see more infidelity stories, then click on the video you see now on your screen.